Welcome to episode 8 of Eat This, Drink That, official, ETDT official, with Ali Khan, zany food host, wacky chef, and we have our wine and beverage specialist, Steve Greer, and I'm Ryan Crosby. And let's get started with episode 8. Ali Khan, what is your Eat This?
Okay, so this big topic, which is actually fascinating, totally comes from the rather sad, pathetic world of being an aggressive influencer getting into the influencer market game. So,
yes,
looking at Instagram.
Yes.
Oh no, actually, you know what it was? This is even better. I did get to Instagram. We are watching. So when pandemic started, there are no sports. My wife loves sports. We were like desperate to watch anything, like, hey, what's some sort of competitive thing? And we discovered televised cornhole. Okay. And a couple of nights ago, we were flipping through the TV. UFC was kind of like, the sun was setting on those matches. And you're like, okay, what's left? And you start really floating through the dregs of the channels. And we came across televised cornhole yet again. And I remember the first thing was reminiscing of, like, remember when we had to watch this? Because there was nothing else on but like the rest of it. So we're watching televised cornhole, and like all this stuff. What's great about this or bull riding? Yes, I've watched that too. It's just like, who are the sponsors? Who is the money behind this? And lo and behold, Johnsonville Bratwurst. Johnsonville Bratwurst was the sponsor behind it. And I'm looking around.
Cornhole.
Cornhole, yeah. You don't want to know about bull riding. That's all for another episode. So, I don't know if I saw this just on the signage. I don't even think I saw an ad. But it's definitely on the Instagram account. The logo or slogan of Johnsonville is, you can't spell sausage without USA. Spell sausage. I'll let you let that sink in for a second. The USA is in Old Glory, red, white, and blue, the stars and stripes, right? And I was just, first of all, I was floored that someone in the marketing department was like, you guys, sausage, Johnsonville, America. You can't spell sausage. Somebody thought of that, right? It's just amazing. So I go on the Instagram account, and I also went on Twitter. First thing I said on Twitter was, I don't think I've heard a better slogan in my life than you can't spell sausage without USA. Hashtag Johnsonville. Then, this was a good one. And then, when I went to the Johnsonville account, I was just like, in love. Hey, like, this is amazing. Here I am. What can I do with this? And somehow I got into a response, a little back and forth, and I said, I have the ultimate recipe to prepare perfect Johnsonville sausages. And so what's interesting about bratwurst, right, is it's one of those, one of the few foods, a few fresh meats where one actually, when you're in the know, you're encouraged to essentially boil, or the more polite, sexy way is to say poach. I mean, you poach it in beer. And when you do that, it cooks it very, very evenly, keeps it from drying out. And then after that, you can kind of finish it on the grill or a hot sear surface to get that caramelization on the outside. And the beer, and sometimes if you add butter, it's a Wisconsin thing. It's really good. It's delicious. I made it before.
Wow.
Now, if you do it in an Instant Pot, it's really perfect, because now you're adding pressure, you're adding time, you're adding science, and you're taking away some of the X factors. You know what I mean? It's more, it's essentially less or more foolproof. It's more foolproof. Okay. Now the other side of it is, okay, it's Johnsonville. You can't spell sausage without USA. I've got the Instant Pot in there. I'm claiming best recipe ever, and then I'm like, well, you know what else would be cool? Smoking it in the Traeger. So I put myself in a little bit of a little to do here, because basically I said, I've got the ultimate Johnsonville bratwurst recipe. It involves the Instant Pot and the Traeger.
Wow.
And I was like, and they're like, we'd love to hear how about it. And then this is just comments on the post. And I was like, I will totally let you know. I will share the whole thing.
Wow.
Now I'm in this conundrum of like, how do I figure out how to use both? I think I'm going to smoke the sausage in the Traeger for an hour, finish it in the instant, cook it through in the Instant Pot, and then sear it, which sounds like a tremendous amount of work. But it gets me to the real topic of this. And it's not.
So you're going to take a Johnsonville brat.
Yeah.
You're going to smoke it, boil
Put
it,
in the Instant Pot, yeah. And then grill
finish it on the grill
Yeah.
for some grill marks.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will tell you, swear to God, the Instant Pot does an amazing job with it. It's like pan frying almost brings up the most problems you can ever imagine. It's like trying to grill flaky fish. It's like, and guess what's going to happen? It's all going to trickle down. It's not going to be good. Not going to be good. Get the foil packet out. But this brings me to the point of this. Johnsonville brats. Now, there's lots of big labels and brands and products out there. Some are better than others. I love sausages and bratwurst. I have gone to many butcher shops, small-scale butcher shops, high-end grocery store markets, and gotten their fresh bratwurst, and they're really good. But here's the thing. Johnsonville brats are very tasty for what it is. They almost have something where it's like you could make a sausage from scratch with the caraway seed, right? With like excellent pork, your own casing, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. And it'll probably be technically better, but Johnsonville still shines bright. And what's fascinating about it is it strikes me as how people have this affinity for, like, me growing up in St. Louis, a Bud bottle, long neck. You know it's not a great beer, but you have it cold. It's like perfectly imperfect. You know what I mean? It's flawed, and that's part of the experience. So that's how I feel about bratwurst. And maybe I've just given away. I'm not going to say Bud's my answer now anymore, but I want to know what is. This is my jumping off point. What is that cheap domestic beer equivalent to food? Something that you accept, that you comprehend is flawed, but you love it anyways, and it is pretty darn really good actually. That's what I want to know. I got Johnsonville brats. Lay it on me. What's like perfectly imperfect food
for beer?
You could go beer, and I want to hear your food.
There's a bunch of tangents that are going to be coming from this. One we'll save for later because I strangely have a bull. I love PBR. I love PBR. So there was not Pabst Blue Ribbon, but the rodeo. I love rodeo. And I got
oh my God, you wasn't kidding about the just when I was like, okay, cool. Greer's thing is,
I think it's professional bull riding. It's PBR.
Oh, professional bull riding. I thought.
Yeah. So why isn't Pabst Blue Ribbon? I mean, I would think Pabst Blue Ribbon is advertising at PBR sanctioned events. So anyway,
there was a pretty good answer to Ollie's question, but yes.
Yeah, there was a documentary called Rank. R-A-N-K. I want to say it came out in like 05 or 06. It followed 3 professional bull riders and their families. How dangerous that sport is. I mean, the one guy was so beat up, like most of his body was metal. He had broken almost everything, broke his back, had been in bull riding since he was a little kid. 2 of the other guys they interviewed the one kid's grandmother, and she was almost in tears. This documentary was so riveting and fascinating. I watched it multiple times. I started watching bull riding.
What's it called? Rank?
Rank. R-A-N-K. And it is a term that bull riders use about the bull, I think. That bull was rank. Yeah, and then there's a whole nother level to this thing that they are engineering the bulls to be so insanely aggressive and mean that these riders just aren't even surviving anymore. So, strangely, you bring up bull riding. I love it. I'll watch it. I've gone to rodeos, and I shouldn't. I don't know. It's just not something you would think. Not many people know that I really like rodeo. But
Yeah, well, 2 words. Not surprised. I'm not. I mean, I've already been watching it on TV.
So I didn't know about the Johnsonville Brought Sausage USA thing. I had never seen that. Ryan's reaction was even better than the advertisement. But let's go to the equivalent of that with beer.
Yeah.
Little King's Creme Ale, I kind of grew up on. It was
Little
a thing.
King's Creme Ale.
Yeah, it was
That
a thing in
sounds like
Cincinnati.
something's fake. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it was a thing in Cincinnati.
Is that like a cream soda with
No,
alcohol?
I can't remember the designation of what
Interesting.
constitutes a cream ale.
Interesting
It's
name.
almost. I think it was also higher in alcohol too. It's not up there with the Schlitz or anything like that. It was. I don't know why. I'll have to
I've
look.
never heard the
up.
terms up there with
Up there with
Schlitz.
Schlitz.
I didn't know.
But isn't that the secret of these less like the Bud Long Neck, right? Isn't that like it's like isn't that a stronger beer for being? Isn't it?
I don't think so. I think it's 3.8.
You think it's still 3.8?
I think so.
Jeez, that's
But-
how good it is.
There's 2 beers that Miller Lite for me is something that
Oh, wow.
it's served cold. You just sit back and drink.
Here
It's
we go.
almost
Nah.
water. It's
Yeah.
almost water.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent for me. And Coors.
Coors
The regular
straight.
Coors.
Or
And I
'cause
think they
Coors
just
Light
came
was
back
the
out with the
OC one.
short squatty bottles.
Oh, yeah.
But then I
so
have friends.
Why regular Coors and not Coors Light? Because I'm hearing you like Miller Lite. I get it. I would
It's
assume
like water.
then you're going to move into Coors Light as well. What,
Coors
really?
Light's such a
You
standard.
taste something of Coors that you prefer over Coors Light?
The banquet beer. It's the
The
banquet.
banquet beer.
Right
Plus-
there in that moment, I saw the wolf's ears droop. And like the sommelier, this wild sommelier with his years of experience, just when he said the banquet of beer. Well, you can't spell sausage without USA either. But
Nope.
I
The
hear you.
banquet beer.
But it's
Yeah.
good to know.
So those are the equivalents where, it depends on, you're at a road stop kind of bar and they're not really serving a whole bunch of craft beer. I'll reach for a Miller Lite or I'll reach for a Coors.
I'll add to it this, and I want to know what your answer is going to be, Ryan. I would rather have those beers than like
Your
it's gonna
strawberry
sound rough.
milkshake.
I'm tossing jabs. I haven't even tried it yet, but we'll see, TBD. But I'd probably rather have that than like some flavored Sam Adams,
Oh, yeah.
or like, there are some of those like wannabe craft beers that are old. I'm kind of not wine, like a Gordon Biersch, like
Yeah.
or I don't know, the whole Irish red beer. I think we were talking about Kieran's a while. I was like, this stuff's
Killian's
Killian's,
Irish
yeah.
Red.
It's just not, it's like I'd rather have no flavor than wannabe flavor. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think I should have a caveat to that whole thing of, what is my equivalent? When is the last time that I drank a Miller Lite or a Coors?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
no,
got to
no.
be years. You know what? Okay. You're at a ballpark. Not all ballparks are serving a bunch of craft beer. I think, maybe in the last 5 to 10 years, they're elevating their experience, trying to bring more fans in. But when I go to Dodger Stadium, I drink Height. That's I drink Korean beer. There's a Height stand. I love Height. My friends growing up were Korean. His parents had a restaurant. They always had OB, Oriental Brewing Company. OB
I've
was
never had that.
so I didn't have Height until moving to Los Angeles. So I take all of that back about Coors and Miller Lite. I will reach for a Mexican lager or
Right.
Height before I ever would buy a Miller Lite or Coors.
All right.
And
all right.
I think
It's interesting, though, because
Pacifico
would
or
you just
Victoria. Victoria is a little
but here's the thing,
maltier.
though.
Pacifico
Would
is
you
I like.
would you describe those as perfect,
Mm.
like flawed, yet you're happy to have them? Do you know what I mean? Or is it simply a flavor profile that you're like, well, if I'm going to commit to this flavor profile, I'd rather have this? Because there's something I'm chasing about the Johnsonville Broad answer. You can think about it, because clearly
I
you
got
had a few other
I got a
beers.
couple answers.
Crosby, what do you got to say?
Right.
I want to know,
I'll give it.
because I think there's something here.
Yeah, I have a good answer that I thought of because of the PBR confusion. Because I felt like PBR might be like a good answer for me. I would say that's kind of this weird, perfectly imperfect beer. I don't know that it tastes better than anything. I don't know what's going on with it, but like I know that if I'm a place, I might order it over other better tasting beers. Now, there's so many factors that go with this because often, let's be honest, it's a little lower priced than some of the other options. And much like the sausage sort of conundrum that you are in, which is you're trying to take, which listen, the reason why the sausage is so good is because of the way that it's made. Like there's a consistency to it, right? So they found the formula, they wrap it up in a
Yes.
sausage every time,
Yes.
and it's just
Yes.
slamming every time. And so
Yes.
and so you are trying to sort of guss it up with a little, Traeger, air fryer. So, or not air fryer, but you know what I mean. And so
Yeah.
PBR is a good answer for me because at the PBR, at the bars, they guss it up usually with a shot of bourbon, right? You usually get the PBR with the shot of bourbon for like $10, and you're having a fantastic afternoon. You know what I mean?
So that's a perfect point, because one could also argue if you had a quote better beer or whatever, it would be a waste. B, it wouldn't actually pair well. And yeah, like if I'm cooking a Johnsonville Brat, I'm not worried about ruining it. It's not precious.
Right.
They got a ton. It's called Costco.
Right.
They got 10 million links waiting for me to experiment with. But yeah, no, it's something, you nailed it. And I want to go back to Greer on this. It's something that has to have the formula. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't, it's a weird respect, but it's a respect. Do you know what I mean? Like the evil corp that just figured it all out. You know what I mean? That's behind the game in Total Recall. What is it? In a box.
I really like Ryan's analogy. You're taking a Johnsonville Brat and doing 3 steps to make it better and taste better. Ryan's having a PBR, and I have friends that swear by PBR. That's their beer. You're dressing it up with a shot. My experience with when I'm pulling out a Pacifico, it is a hot summer day on a Saturday, sitting around, probably barbecuing, and we're just having some Pacificos in the backyard.
Yeah.
Height is either I'm at the ballpark, which I'm not doing now because I moved away from LA, so I'm not at Dodger Stadium drinking height, or I'm at Korean barbecue and I drink beer when I'm having.
There's
Korean
emotional connections. There's technical connections.
And
to each
the
one.
situation is a connection.
Yeah.
I don't come home from work and pull the fridge door open and reach for a height or a Pacifico on a Tuesday night. I don't do that. But on those situations, I definitely do. This USA sausage thing. The first thing I thought of. So I love German sausages. Well, and stuff in France. Blood sausage. I love blood sausage.
Oh, wow.
So when you said USA, I immediately thought, well, I feel bad for all the sausage people in the world because they're not making it in the USA. My story of my favorite experience with blood sausage was I was visiting a winemaker in the Mosel. We had tasted through his stuff, hit a couple other wineries he represented. We were done for the day. We're driving through town. It's in summer. It's just after the solstice. I want to say it was the very end of June. The there's little beer tents in all these little towns along the Mosel, so we're having a beer. And then for lunch, we drove up to the top of one of his vineyards, looking down, and the vineyards are 45 degrees. They're really steep, and we're standing on top. And his wife had made a lunchbox basically of a bunch of different blood sausages and different sausages, and we were drinking an ice wine. I think it was 1972. This was in 02 or 03, so it's 30 years old. Eating blood sausages, looking out over the Mosel and the vineyards, and eating these amazing blood sausages with this amazing ice wine. It was a perfect experience. So I didn't go to backyard barbecue, brats and Mets, and I went straight to Germany and the Mosel.
I mean, it just goes without saying, if it ever was ever in any doubt, it's official that Steve is clearly the Renaissance man. Because when I brought up you can't spell sausage without USA, he brought up 45-degree sloped vineyards, 30-year-old ice wine, and blood sauce. I imagine he played chess and then took a nap. I mean, seriously?
That's so good.
You went full-on Hemingway. I was watching Cornhole at quarter to midnight. I don't know. I mean, I could just drop the mic, except I'm just recording up the laptop.
I thought of something. I wonder if Johnsonville was in Australia, they could do the same slogan with. They could say like without AUS, right? They could just. Right? Isn't sausage SAUSAGE?
Oh my God! You can't spell sausage without AUS. It's funny. From what I kind of understand, they are a big grilling. There's a lot of similarities.
That'd be funny if they used the same slogan there, but switched it to AUS.
It wouldn't. Yeah.
I didn't know they aired cornhole competition tournaments. I mean,
you got to spring for the package.
What I thought of there was when I was in college. There was a show that would come on at 1 a.m. This is way before X Games, way before any of the kind of alternative sports were cool. And there was a BMX show that would come on at 1 a.m. The announcers were definitely stoned.
Right.
And it was just one camera. It wasn't multiple shots. It was one camera. And they were just hitting the pipe, going back and forth. And the dude would just be like, whoa.
Oh my gosh. And then the names of the moves. The moves.
I was mesmerized by that show. I watched it every time it was on, 1 or 2 in the morning. It was great.
I had an epiphany the other day because my kid who's 9, pretty much considers YouTube. It's almost like, I don't know, my equivalent of referring to whoever was number 1 on the Billboard 100. YouTube is the ultimate sense of cool and place and importance. Oh my God, that's the number 1 YouTuber in the world. Everyone stop.
Right.
And for some reason, I brought up Tony Hawk, and he goes, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "You don't know who Tony Hawk is?" And of course he wouldn't. And then I realized something Tony Hawk skate videos was basically ancient YouTube before YouTube.
Right.
I feel like skate videos are an ancient,
which is what
YouTube.
started Jackass. Jackass got started because they would do all the Jackass things in between skate moves, and then so that
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's how they started off, was being in skate videos, and then it turned into the Jackass videos.
Oh.
And then if you look at what Jackass is, that's what David Dobrik does on a better scale on YouTube, right?
Original,
That's so there
totally.
It's not eat this, drink that without something tangential, and there you go. So Tony Hawk and skate videos are the OG YouTube, and then Jackass actually connects all the dots. You can't spell sausage without Australia or America. Now I'm sticking with that.
So I thought of another perfectly imperfect food, playing along the lines that I picked up on, which is Fritos. Are you guys into Fritos at all?
I'll
tell you why. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
They only have 3 or 4 ingredients. That's it. They're
Mhm.
not particularly delicious. It's not like a flaming hot Cheeto, which is a whole different story, right? From this week,
Sure.
it's not this like flaming hot Cheetos like is so bad it's good, right? You know you're gonna be
Right.
glowing orange and your face is on fire. It's so bad it's good. Whereas
Mhm.
Frito is like it's especially for men that are getting older and you don't want to have a bunch of shit put into your body. Fritos are just
Yeah.
this awesome snack. It's like corn, salt, and I think oil,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
nothing
No.
else. And then you can add
So
to it,
I'll tell.
especially with LA. You can do you can get the Mexican taco truck version of the Fritos bag. They open it up, you pour the birria in it, or you can get the lime juice in it. So Fritos is like this other awesome formula that is just solid and can be expounded upon.
Okay, so first of all, that's genius about the birria. In Texas, Frito Pie is like a
Oh,
whole
right.
thing, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
literally where Frito Pie gets really good is if you because it could almost be like a homemade thing because
Right.
there just aren't a lot of like there's not a whole scene of chili makers and
Well, you could probably
expert
just
chili
mash down a
people.
bag of Fritos and
Yeah, and you put I mean you'll serve in the bag, but there's a barbecue joint that does a Frito Pie, and it's insane
Wow.
with because it's a chili made with all these smoked meats is amazing. But I'll tell you, you're dead on with the Fritos because it's something. It's actually one of the consumer CPG, the snack goods that you're right. It's actually extremely simple. In ingredient and its overall approach to flavor. My wife used to always be like, Fritos are like the best snack food because it's not loading you up with a ton of, frankly, like, fake flavor.
Right.
And I think that nails it dead on because in a way, it is just a quote bag of chips, but it's what's not there. And it's totally delicious and ripping with barbecue. I'm with Fritos. That's a brilliant choice. That's a brilliant food choice.
Thank you. When are you doing your Johnsonville thing? Are you recording this for something?
It's I'll probably it's obviously first and foremost something that I want to kind of like tag on Instagram. So the conundrum with it is, I've looked at some of these recipes. There's actually a fascinating article that I think it's Traeger that links to it, but Jay Kenji Lopez, who's a fabulous chef, food scientist, food writer. He writes for a site called Serious Eats.
Okay.
He does a whole thing about how to cook sausages, right? And basically, the whole thing is when you grill them, you really, they're tied up tight with that intestine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you put them on heat too hard, first of all, it can burn. Second, it can burst, right? So it's a perfect recipe for a root sausage. So he advocates for if you're going to grill them, have a pan, like an aluminum pan, you know what I mean?
Right.
One of those tinfoil thing, disposable aluminum pan, beer, sausage, put it on the grill, let it simmer in there. So it mostly cooks. And then you finish it over coals, over direct heat for that color, right? So the Instant Pot, you're basically doing the same thing. You're letting heat and pressure and liquid in a moist cooking environment really get the cooking done. Now, there's something about the idea of like, what could the Traeger do? So I might do a challenge. What I might do is Instant Pot versus Traeger.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems like one of the processes could have been interchanged, or I think the challenge is a good idea.
Yeah, it's pretty basic, and there's something like some of the things I've been finding lately with cooking, and as I've kind of essentially been crafting, like what are the recipes that I'm really kind of drawn to draw people into. One of my go-to moves lately is like, we do a lot of cooking at home, since COVID on, and there are times where you're like, like I want to go out to eat, I want that taste, and like some of it is like I want a hit of restaurant salt. I want MSG. I want things that I don't normally cook or season with. Right. So one of the things has been I'll go to the carniceria and get their pre-marinated meats that are heavily seasoned with a lot of like additional elements. And I'm not poo-pooing on MSG. It's a flavor enhancer. It just is what it is. And I do it because I want that. I don't want it every day.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I want it to just create some variety. And to a certain degree, that's the thing with the Johnsonville stuff is like, I get my purple carrots delivered and it's the whole salmon spring roll. That's cool for Tuesday. It's Memorial Day. And for the record, you can't spell sausage without USA.
There's no way Johnsonville brats are natural casings. Are they?
I mean, hey, I am not. I mean, I think they have some casing. They have to have something.
Maybe they'll let us know when this comes out if they.
I'm gonna have
tag them.
I mean, they got to make a lot of sausage at Johnsonville.
They do. I mean, look, I will say this though, straight up. There's something about it.
Here, I'm looking it up while we're talking.
How many?
There you go.
Also, look up how many pigs are killed every year in America. There's probably plenty of tubing for those brats. I think it's like
you can't spell bummer without Google.
Bummer Dan, Downer Dan over here.
I'll just say this: there are certain elements to an experience that, well, in this case, smell. So Johnsonville has just a great taste for a brat. It just does. It's distinct, it's unique, but it does taste good. And on another side to it, and I actually will say this, it's an inferior product in terms of creating a fire. But man, the smell of Matchlight Kingsford briquettes just makes you go, whoa,
yes, it
what's
does.
up?
Hey, let me read something.
Here we go.
Must be a question for a lot of people.
Dextrose, benzoate, niacin.
No, so
C11.
it's under FAQ. Our fully cooked items and breakfast links use a collagen casing derived from beef, and our fresh breakfast and dinner sausage items use a natural pork casing. So your USA sausages for dinner and grilling out are natural pork casing.
I just for the sake of my Memorial Day weekend, please stop reading. Do not share any more information.
No more reading.
Because I'm already frightened about what I learned about their breakfast or whatever that. They're fully cooked. I'll throw this out there too because we're having it, and I don't know if they'll contact me. There's a company that hit up a friend of mine who's a chef here in Austin, and he goes, "Hey, they might want to hit you up too. They make sausages out of carrot. Now, it's not ground up carrot made to taste like sausage. It's a freaking carrot that you put in a bun that's pre-cooked, and it's got a marinade to it. So straight up, you're eating like a carrot in its tube form, dressed up
that's no way.
As
that's wild.
A sandwich. Yep, wild. And the thing is, this dude's a really rad chef. He makes Sonoran style hot dogs.
Wow.
Awesome, like basically San Diego style, like West Coast, like burritos, carne asada, and stuff. And he staged at French Laundry. Like he has formal training, but homie slangs in a truck, French right? Laundry. And this is a perfect storm because you're like, ooh, he knows just enough of what to do. You know what I mean? So it's not total roll of the dice garbage.
Yeah, well, we should.
And they're like, yeah, I mean, I'll make stuff with your carrot hot dog. So maybe you'll see that coming.
Okay.
If they.
Great, guys. Thank you for episode 8. Any final remarks from the squad?
I mean, I think we know what I'm going to say, so I don't even need to say
you
it.
can't spell. All right. Well, thank you so much.
I want to hear what you're going to say, but I'm craving some Korean barbecue and a hype right now.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice. I want a PBR and a
You know
shot.
what my food choice was, and I think it would have been a total fail after hearing everyone else's, especially yours, Ryan, Frito Pie. I was going to be like, I don't know why. I don't know why I am going to say this. I don't know why I have suddenly found interest in it. And maybe it's because I do cook a lot, and we cook fairly responsibly with, more natural ingredients, and sometimes you crave a processed food element here and there.
Uh-oh.
Frozen White Castle. Like, I don't know. I know. It's horrible.
Wow.
And the thing is, like, when I was growing up with White Castle, I didn't like White Castle, right? And then I don't know. I think I got an old man's drunk stomach. So you're like, it just hits. And then I've even had it frozen.
So my craving, it's not White Castles, but Geta and eggs. So Geta is
Well, that stuff's delicious, man. Yeah,
it's
I like that.
pinhead oats with a bunch of pork fat and pork stuff in it, made
It's
into a
Scrapple-esque.
yeah.
Scrapple-esque
It's like Scrapple.
sausage.
So it's a Cincinnati Scrapple thing.
Wow.
But you slice the loaf and you pan fry the Geta, and you have some runny eggs. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's
Perfectly imperfect.
It's like
Yeah.
Well, I think the White Castle's not. There's nothing perfect. There is nothing perfect about a frozen White Castle, but it has a draw. It has a draw.
Umami.
I think, we better stop now because I don't know where we're headed. We peaked at Fritos.
Yeah.
All right.
That was
Fritos
great. I never had a Frito Pie. I can't wait to have one.
Let's check it out.
Oh, Mickelway Barbecue. Google it. Maybe when we post this, we'll have the image, the Frito Pie.
Yeah,
and I remember my friend ordered it, and I was like, "This is genius." There's
All right, cool.
a lot of bad chili.
Episode 8.
Great, guys.
Sign out.